Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. The new movie Till chronicles the lynching of 14-year-old Emmett Till in 1955 Mississippi and how Till's mother helped launch the civil rights movement. I spoke to young actor Jalyn about portraying Emmett Till and the lessons we can learn from the horrific incident all these years later. Hey, Jalyn, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP in DC.
Hey, how you doing? I'm happy to be here.
Now, we are here talking the new movie Till, heavy subject, but we're also excited that you're, getting this big break in Hollywood and everything. So we're going to try to balance the heaviness with the excitement for you and your career and your casting crew. So I think Till, it's out in limited theaters now, and I think it comes out nationwide, I believe, by the end of the month. So pretty soon, everyone will be able to see it. Before we get into the movie itself, obviously you play Emmett Till, but before we get into any of that, tell us a little bit about yourself. I guess you're you're coming up on 15 years old, and where'd you grow up?
Yes. So I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been here since since I was born. But to pursue my acting career, I moved over to LA. So I've spent some time in LA. So basically, if anybody asked me where do I live, I would say both,
Back and forth, yeah.
So both kind of, I grew up in kind of both areas, since I was born to 7 years old, I lived in Atlanta. And then, from 10 to 14, I've been living in LA.
Okay, cool. And some of our listeners might remember you from, I guess you were in the remake of Shaft. You were in the new Space Jam with LeBron James. So they've seen you around in some stuff. But how did you actually get, bit by the bug? Did you act in school plays, or how did that even come about?
Right. So funny story. No one in my family has ever done this before. And one day I was just like, yo, I'm gonna be inside the TV. Right. And it was kind of like one of those childhood. I said this when I was 4. I was like, I'm gonna be inside the TV. And I was just so adamant about it growing up. Right. And then one day, a celebrity had posted on their story, if your child feels like this is what they want to do, or they have some sort of talent, bring them to this performing arts camp, right? And I went to a showcase that they had, and I was just on the edge of my seat the entire night. I'm like, Mom, I gotta go here. I really want to do it. And my mom has been so supportive. So she let me go to the camp, and just from then on, I fell in love with it. Dancing, acting, music. It was a triple threat school. So it was an amazing time. And that's what kind of, fan the flame to my passion of acting.
Awesome. And like we mentioned, you were in some big roles, House with the Clock in its walls, all of that, Space Jam, Shaft, all the stuff. But this, I got to say, this is probably, this might be your first, how do we say, a big festival Oscar contender movie here. I mean, I'm pretty sure people are going to be hearing a lot about it come award season. So tell us about, this role of Till. I guess we should start, how old were you when you first heard about Till? I mean, it's something that we all should learn about in school.
Yeah. So I was younger than what I was today, of course. It was told to me as kind of like a cautionary tale, a means to prevent something like that of ever happening to me. So I really can't put my finger on what age it was. I just know I was young, very young. But going into this project, I got to learn in depth about not only the story, not only the series of events in detail, but about these two human beings, this mother and son.
Absolutely. And I guess we should tell our listeners, even though they have to be, living under a rock to not know what it's about. But, of course, 14-year-old Emmett Till, he's from Chicago, traveling down south to Mississippi in 1955, whistled at a white girl, had the audacity, and suddenly gets abducted, lynched. And it's just a brutal, horrific thing. But as the movie will show, his inspires his mother. They do the open casket, it gets in Jet magazine, and boom, and the civil rights movement is pretty much born out of that incident. So tell us tell us how the movie juggles the two. Like, obviously, you're playing Emmett Till. Or is your stuff mostly like, in flashbacks, or is the story mostly follow,
Right.
Mamie Till, Mobley, the mom, or how do you balance it?
Yeah. So the story is kind of told through the perspective of Mamie, right? His mother. So the story begins with their regular life, kind of not like a bunch of, but you get that sort of feeling because a lot of times when you think about it, you just think about the couple photos that you've seen or some things that you read, but this kind of gives you a very lively representation of their relationship together and the joyful and the love that they shared. And we followed that all the way up until Emmett goes to Mississippi, and we follow some of the things, the events that take place there, leading up to the whistling. And then we follow the abduction, and then ultimately, his death. And then after that, we see all the trials and tribulations that Mamie goes through, while simultaneously learning about the different figures that she met along the way that aided her in this journey that she was going on in hopes of justice for her son. So it's kind of like a very one thing about it is that not only is it lively in the way that it connects you with it, from a cinema, from a movie standpoint, but it's also educational, because everything was proofread, everything was, very authentic and very accurate. So a lot of the people that you meet along the way as well are some people that a lot of people in the world wouldn't know about or have forgotten, so this is also an educational film as well.
Absolutely. Those are the best kind, the best kind. You walk away, having learned a little something. Especially on a subject that some people think they might know, but then by the end they see all the different layers. Well, here in DC, at the African American History Museum, they actually have the Emmett Till's casket, where the famous
Yeah,
you
I
go in and see
visited
it.
there.
Yeah. So you've been there, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
talk about how that decision, the mom famously wanted to do open casket, but talk about how those photographs, the swollen face, just the most horrific, gruesome stuff. Talk about that, how that was almost like the George Floyd video of its day. They didn't have cell phone cameras back then. Thankfully, we all have these to document that stuff,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
stuff now. But in a way, that's sort of is it relevant to sort of what we're going through?
Yeah, I feel like there's so much relevancy. And that's a sad thing to, you know, realize is that something that happened 67 years ago is still relevant to this day. And we get to see, the very instance that inspired a lot of our figures who created change in the community, and we see the change that happens along the way. I can't sit here and tell you that there has not been change, but I can tell you that we still have a long way to go and a lot of work to put in. And this is kind of a reminder of that. It's so many things, like everything down to the letter font and the poster has a meaning, and a lot of people today will pick up on these things and it will be changed and inspired, so yes, to answer your question, I definitely think there's relevancy here, and now people can look at what it rooted and now where it has come, so yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and great answer. And yes, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's super relevant because I believe the warrant for what is it, Carolyn Bryant, the accuser, her arrest was just
Yes.
recently found, and then the Congress just passed the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act just earlier this year, making lynching a federal offense. Hard to believe it took that freaking
Yeah,
long.
yeah.
But yeah, it's relevant. So everyone's talking Emmett Till now. Well, so tell me, you mentioned how even everything right down to the font and the letters, there's a meaning behind it. The symbolic, filmmaking craft at play. So dish on your director a little bit. Chinoya Chukwu, a
Yeah.
Nigerian American film director. People will remember Clemency a few years back when she was the first Black woman to win the U.S. Dramatic Grand Jury Prize at Sundance for that one. So got the chops. But talk in this one, talk about just what was it like working with her? What's her style? How does she work with the actors?
Yeah.
Dish on her for a little bit.
Right. So as far as her kind of overall style, she's such a, meticulously detailed director in the way that everything that she does is for a reason. And it's so, thought out. And she's overall like an amazing director, but even and an even more amazing, person. Because with going through a project like this with like such, heavy material, you really need it really takes a village, like you need
Yeah.
people who are there to um look after your well-being emotionally and physically, and that's what she did. We never did scenes that were hard for us more than we had to. And
Okay.
if we did go over maybe like 4 5 times, she would like every between the scenes she would check up on us, and I think that's something that is so crucial. So everyone's relationship with her was unique, but they were all similar in the way that she was such a care provider, and it was a mutually reciprocated thing. So she's just an amazing person, and an even more amazing director.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for talking about the filmmaker, but now let's jump to your side of the camera and dish on your co-stars a little bit, particularly, the actress that plays your mom, Danielle Deadweiler. We've seen her in, gosh, Watchmen was so great, so TV series, but also, I guess more recently, that Netflix movie, the Western, The Harder They Fall, where she was
Yeah,
Cuffy. Just great stuff last year. That was one of the coolest movies of last year, in my opinion. But
yeah,
just talk about working with Danielle and crafting, because you got to craft that mother
yeah.
son bond even through death in this movie. So talk about just that bond that you guys were able to do.
Yeah, so it was very easy for us to kind of get that bond because straight off the bat in our chemistry read when we read together, it was an amazing time. Some auditions can feel like auditions, when you're in them. But with this one, it was just so natural and and down to earth and energetic, and the vibe was just amazing. And then when I seen her in person, when they had told me that I got the job, I seen her in person that day, and it was even more love and joy than you could ever reciprocate over like Zoom or on the phone.
Sure.
And they told me, we smiled, we danced, we laughed, and it was just an overall amazing moment. And it translated even more on camera, with everything being so natural and authentic, because she has a son as well. Me and my mom's relationship is great, so a lot of it was kind of translated and mixed to kind of have that authentic relationship between mother and son. And as far as us, she's such a person that you can relate with and talk to and be and feel comfortable and joyous around. So yeah, she's an amazing person, so charismatic and goofy, funny. And her acting, her work ethic is just amazing, especially with this. It can be emotionally hard, but she kind of tackled that and embraced it, with every fiber of her being, and just fell into it and gave it her all. And it was such an inspiring thing to watch.
Oh, absolutely. And our listeners are also in for a treat because, she plays your mom, but then you have some two heavy hitters playing your grandparents.
Yes.
Remind us who's playing them.
Yes, that is Frankie Faison and Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh yeah, you've seen Frankie in The Wire. Of course, Whoopi needs no introduction. Winning Oscars long before you were born, young man.
Yeah.
in Ghosts. I guess that, what, 17 years before you were born or something like that. And of course, The Color Purple and Sister Act and so many great roles. But what's it? I don't want to ask you, are you starstruck? But actually, yeah, are you starstruck when you're when
Yeah,
you're around,
yeah.
these legends when you meet them?
Right. Of course, man. Honestly, when I seen him, it was just, it's that kind of nervousness and that kind of like, oh my God, like that's them.
Yeah.
But I can honestly say they never made it feel like that,
Yeah.
and in this business, that's crucial to have that level-headed, modest humbleness to you. And that's what they had. They were themselves 100% of the time, and just, being the natural, unfiltered kind of being, and I really got to know them, and it was a great time. Like I could definitely see them being, one of my uncles, aunties, actual grandparents. Like it was great.
That's so cool. Awesome. Well, I think we've covered a lot with the movie, but I do want to, tee it up for our listeners who, if, I know that if maybe there's some people that are like, oh no, it's going to be so heavy, like tell them why they should watch it anyway. And we don't actually see, I believe we don't see the actual murder and everything happen, right? It's sort
Right.
of,
No, no,
you
no.
hear about it off screen and you know what I mean? But like, so talk about, yeah, just invite them to experience this important work.
Right. This, like I said previously, is educational. It's something that you will connect with. It's something that you can sympathize and empathize with. It's something that we can now relate to in a community standpoint, in a worldwide standpoint. And it's something that can inspire you, in so many different ways. So I have been, I've been talking to a lot of people. This is not one of those things where you go to be entertained, it's one of those things where you go to be enlightened or changed or impacted in such a way that you can never get from anything else. And I feel like this is crucial. This is needed for the world to see.
Absolutely. Well said. And perfect place to leave it. Thanks so much for joining us. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. I guess, yeah, I guess in closing, like our final seconds, like, how has it been like festival run wise? Like I know, where did it premiere at the New York Film Festival, I think?
Yes, New
Yes.
York Film Festival. It's out now in select theaters, and it will be coming out, yeah, like nearing the end of the month. And yeah, and I just can't wait for the world to see it. The minimal crowd that has seen it has just been moved in so many different ways. We had a screening the other day in London, and there was this one woman who, you know, related to it in such a way that none of us could have fathomed. And she was so moved and so touched by it. And that's the type of thing that, we need to think about, is how many people are going through something that need this, that need to see this. And yeah, so that's where we are in our journey, man. And everybody seeing it, and everybody, pushing it out there, so that when it does finally come out, everyone will be in the know and can experience this for themselves.
Awesome. Well, it's an impressive career you're building here for yourself
Thank
at
you.
the age of 14, I guess 15 this December or something, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so hey, if any Oscar nominations or anything come for the film, that'll be a nice 15th birthday present there. This
Thank
winter.
you.
So
I know,
we'll
right?
we'll see. You know what? It's not even about that. Like you're saying, it's
Yeah.
getting people to see and experience this story and
Yes.
learn. So hey, thank you so much, Jalyn Hill. This was fun talking with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You have a good one.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.
Explain your DNA on 10 cases, man.
You're inside the police interrogation room with the alleged Potomac River rapist.
I'm not guilty on any of this stuff.
So calm, so reasonable. Could this be the man who terrorized women for 9 years before murdering a brilliant scientist 2 decades ago? Experience one of the most fascinating true crime podcasts available. Join crime reporter Paul Wagner for Unknown Subject, Season 3 of WTOP's American Nightmare series. Search American Nightmare Podcast on all podcast platforms.
I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.